So this is from a Twitch user. I would like Sombier. Not sure how to pronounce that. What does Bible says about killing? I'm thinking it says brother. It says brother, but I think it means brother.
It says a lot, and I guess the question is, if you ask Jesus, "Who is my brother?" Jesus will probably give a parable along the lines of the Good Samaritan, where he'll ask you, "What does it mean for you to be a brother for someone else?" And we look at the story in Genesis chapter 4. So right after Adam and Eve get kicked out of the Garden of Eden, the next story is about two literal brothers, Cain and Abel. And we have Cain getting really upset because God is rejecting Cain's offering, but he's accepting Abel's offering. And Cain's like, "What's going on? Come on, God." Ah. He's getting upset rather than realizing problems with him. He needs to deal with himself. And God even comes at Cain and says, "Cain, you need to get your anger under control. You need to master sin, or sin will master you." And then we know the story. Cain still plots to kill his brother, leads him out to a field, murders his brother, and God shows up again. And God says, like, "Hey, Cain, where's your brother?" And Cain says, "Am I my brother's keeper? Am I responsible for taking care of my brother?" And what's interesting is, if we flash forward now to, I think it's the first book of John, the first letter by John, not his gospel, but a letter. He's talking to the people, and he's talking about Cain, who's wicked and hateful, the opposite of how God's people should be. We should be loving. We should be loving and caring for everybody. Cain was the exact opposite. He hated, and hate is, in biblical perspective, as bad as murder, because hate is what then ultimately leads to murder. And Jesus says, if you hate in your heart, you have basically committed murder. Just like if you lust in your heart, you've committed adultery. So the Bible doesn't want us to even get to the point of hating someone. Even just hating your brother is bad. Jesus says, if you hate your brother or have a problem set, like, go make amends, work things out before the sun sets, like, or before you try to sleep. Like, don't let the day end without trying to reconcile and make things right. Relationships are so important. Life is so important. These things are almost held to equal value in the Bible. And so what's one of the worst things you can possibly do? Take a life, destroy the possibility of relationships that then can be had with that life. And it's devastating to God, who then considers every human being to be like his child.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, Tina, Wendy, what do you think?
I think that's very true. And I think, um, that was the first story that came to my mind too, is Cain and Abel, how, that was, the first sin after the sin of Adam and Eve that we see in the Bible. And how, after Cain had killed his brother, um, God was merciful to Cain in that he didn't just, destroy him. He said, I will let you live, but I'm going to put a mark on you. And, and so basically he's like, and if anybody touches you, they are going to, they're not going to be counted guiltless. Just because you murdered your brother doesn't mean, people can now treat you horribly. God in his mercy still said, I still value you. I still want you to, basically God always wants us to repent and turn back to him, and, basically redeem the time, make amends as much as whatever way is possible. um, as terrible and heartbreaking as, if somebody were to kill their brother is, God is a loving God, and he does want to forgive, he does want to heal, in that situation. But the person who's done harm needs to, do whatever it is in their power to, um, seek reconciliation with whoever they've hurt in that process, as well as, accept the due punishment for it,
Mm-hmm.
and do whatever it is that they need to do, to make things as right as possibly they can, and get their heart right with God, so that one day they might be able to see that brother in heaven, if that's been the case. So